Hey everybody, welcome back to the Brian Escow Show. So happy to be with you. I have got truly one of the best conversations I've ever had in my nearly 5 years of podcasting now. It'll be 5 years, I believe, in March next month. Yeah. So it's now February 1st, by the way, 2026. Unbelievable. Look at this. We're already into month two of 2026. Who can believe it? But yeah, no, we just wrapped up this conversation. His name is Christopher Angle. He's an author, a philosopher, podcast host himself. Um, as I said to him towards the end of our conversation, he really, truly, I think, cracked the code, put the last puzzle piece into place as to what my political identity is and how I should be viewing current events and politics in general. It couldn't have been for me, a more interesting and relevant conversation and consequential and productive conversation. So it was extraordinary. The reason I'm making this intro is because I have to warn you, and I'm so sorry about this. There is a little bit of an echo when I speak only. Now, here's the good news. I did more listening than speaking in this episode, and there's no problem with the audio when he's speaking. And when I speak, it's tolerable, but there is an echo. We couldn't figure out why it was. He didn't have headphones. He was a little intimidating, to be honest with you, at least before I warmed him up a little bit. So I didn't want to be like, dude, go get headphones, Mr. Old Man. Um, but I'm so sorry that I couldn't figure out. I did the echo cancellation button. I did all the things, but had a little bit of an audio problem. It's never happened before, so I don't plan on it happening again. Hopefully, you can put up with it. If you can, I think you're gonna find that there's some gold here, some real gold here about the political landscape. It's such a generic phrase to use when I say every week, "Oh, we talked about the political landscape." Well, but yeah, but we really did this time. So check it out. Let me know what you think and have a good one. Okay. Later on. See ya. Hey, Chris, Mr. Angle, thank you so much for making time for me today. I appreciate it.
Chris is fine.
Awesome. Awesome. Chris, so you're a philosopher by trade. I mean, we've titled this episode The Intersection of Politics and Philosophy. You were telling me that, is it fair to say it's your life's work bringing these subjects to life?
Yes, I've written 5 books and of a philosophical nature, delving into the various concepts that apply to daily life, such as aesthetics, ethics, the nature of truth, the and economics, and now how it all applies to the political scene and
So, yeah.
the philosophical nature of politics.
So before we even get to that, which perhaps we can call our main topic, building up to that, what you have written books on in philosophy, what percentage of the world, of the explorable world in philosophy, did you choose to write your 4 books on? In other words, what I'm asking is that a broad subject that you covered, aesthetics and the other things you mentioned, or is that a particular narrow interest within philosophy that you had?
No, there were just concepts that came before me, and I decided that they needed to be defined in order to clarify how to think about them. So each concept that I choose or that comes into the into the news media, uh, I will define it concisely. Philosophy tends to be a little bit verbal, a little bit flowery, a little bit complicated, and I wanted to make it. And I believed that all difficult concepts of philosophy can be concisely defined. And so each one of my books defines a concept precisely, and uh, and then I defend it.
And so,
So each concept is clearly understandable.
right. Brilliant. I mean, that is so actionable and so useful, and it seems logical to someone like myself. If you can't explain it simply, you really don't know what you're talking about. Isn't that Einstein's quote, something like that?
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Right. So, is it fair for me to ask you, hey, can you tell me in bullet points what the core insights of philosophy are that I need to know going into a conversation about politics? Are there things that are need to knows?
Yeah, first of all, you would need an anthropological understanding of the origin of politics itself. And so, and that is, if you take a look at our evolutionary development, we once ran around in tribal, in small groups. And when that happened, often uh, there was, well, not often, there always was a, a particular individual that wanted to dominate. And in my latest book, The Nature of the Political Left and Right, there are 7 dictums that um, uh, to be explained on both the left and the right that define how they act, how the political left and right act. And the second one, and the first 2 are the same for both, and the second one is the famous St. Augustine's theory of libido dominandi, where we tend to want to dominate, where men will dominate, and I use that, I should say mankind will want to dominate others. So, and that happened when we were tribal and when we were in small groups, and Saint Augustine recognized that. So so I included in the 7 dictums that determine the behavior of politicians, and uh, so
Hmm.
uh, so this and we can see that all, not only men but other animals, and especially in the higher animal kingdom, there's a alpha male that tends to want to dominate, and naturally dominates because he wants to uh, uh, prolong and extend his genetic makeup into future generations. So he fights for it,
Hmm. Hmm.
and men are no different. We tend to dominate, and so in a group of when we were in tribes, eventually somebody rises to the top, and he rises to the top because he is a little bit stronger or knows a little bit more, or in some way
Hmm.
displays his power. And once he becomes a leader, or the leader of the tribe, he demands a little bit more because
Hmm.
he he's he thinks he's deserving of it because he has a little more goodness, and so he demands a little bit more than everybody else in society, and
Hmm.
and then that is the first creation of the separation between the haves and the have-nots throughout history. And so suddenly you have a one person who, or one entity, or one life entity, is more dominant, and therefore becomes more prevalent in society. And as a reward for himself, he gives himself a little bit more goodness that the society produces. So uh,
So it's a
with that
strength
said,
base. The first separation of class is by strength,
that's
or
right.
not necessarily strength, but probably, as you were saying, most likely strength was involved,
Right.
or intelligence,
Yep.
but dominance.
To proceed
Wow.
and become dominant so that he may receive from the tribe, from the small group, a little more goodness than everybody else. And so as they develop, as the tribe develops into a larger society, eventually he becomes from an elder uh, to a king, or and then as society develops even beyond that,
Hmm.
and uh, and when it does, it usually it causes that the king will no longer be able to know everybody within his society, and there's the origin of man's inhumanity to man, because he no longer has a personal understanding of everybody in society. And so as
Mm.
as they grow, societies grow, then the have, the dominant have, will require helpers, and suddenly you get the Knights of the Round Table, or the aristocracy, or you'll get some group of helpers that will help him effectuate his edicts that he will give to the have-nots of society. And and so and he does this because of the first dictum of life, that all that does that which is good for him. And and so now you've got the first two in play, and these are the first two play on both the left and the right. There's no difference. All humans are categorized into these two principles. That
So
all
it's
that does.
it's dominance asserts itself,
Yeah,
and then a secondary class of enforcers gets made.
that's correct.
Fascinating.
And and they do this because they want, because all life does that which is good for them. So
We're talking
they
about chess.
yeah, that's right. We're talking about chess. There's no difference between what we're talking about here in the chessboard. And so then, as society grows and you get um, various classes of people, all the way from the very high up haves and their intermediaries that they need to be able to control society, and that is the ultimate goal, is control. So because with control, the greater control you have, these haves can get more from the have-nots. And as you see throughout history, this is the case. And you go right into the Middle Ages, and you get the king and the queen, and and not only do they want more, they want more from everybody else, and so wars occur. So
Hmm.
uh, so the bifurcation then between the left and the right has not yet occurred, but in principle number three, the bifurcation happens, and that is when a leftist looks at somebody he's dealing with in society, and I'm going to place all the halves of history into this category. The halves of history
Hmm.
all look at the other person and decide that he's no good. His nature is no good. And so, and when that happened, the haves of society look down at the have-nots, and they go, hey, they're no good. They're downtrodden. They're just plebeians. They're just slaves. They're just worker bees. And I am the great one. So the haves of society look down upon the have-nots, and you can see that throughout history. All the kings and queens, the kings, they all thought that they had a direct uh, uh, understanding from God, and they were their conduit of God's will on earth, and that was called the divine right of kings. And so you get that this belief in themselves, and so they look and outside of them own and their particular crew of helpers, they don't really have much opinion of the lower of the have-nots, and
Hmm.
and so that after so that's going to bring us so on the other
That's
side
kind
of
of
the coin,
sad, right? That's kind of sad.
it is, and we're going to get into why it happened like that in just a second. So on the other side of the coin, so the have-nots, the common man, or in today, you have the other type of view. You look at somebody who will look at somebody and go, well, your nature is good. Somewhere, although we look at the Bible and we go, all that is all fall short of the glory of God. So everybody's got something wrong with them, and no one's perfect. But you you've got something good that we can work with, and we look forward to working with you. And that's called cooperation. So we're going to look for that good so that we can cooperate and produce goods and services. So you have that particular outlook, and that's on the other side of the have and the have-nots. So, but everybody gets it, and as far as I can figure out, it's about 30% of the populace that looks at the other person and goes, he is he is bad. His nature is just no good. And the other side, about 30% of the populace kind of looks at the other person and goes, yeah, yeah, but he's got some goodness, and we can work together with him. And so then you have compromises and in politics you have to compromise in order to cooperate and produce the laws and regulations that the haves will dictate over the have-nots. So you look at that and now all of a sudden one side looks at the other side as not good, and one side looks at the other side and says they're okay, they're good, we can cooperate with them. And so when you get in politics two of the opposite side like that looking at each other, the ones that say that you're not so good will tend to want to not give up anything because you're bad. We really shouldn't be cooperating with you in the first place. And the other side will look at you and go, okay, well, we've got to find something good within you, and so we'll find that, and we'll compromise on that goodness that we find in working with you. And so what happens is that the world's governments move left little by little over time because of those two outlooks that they look upon, that they look upon each other. And when you get somebody who just suddenly drags it back from going to the left and suddenly brings it back to the right, you get huge determinative will to stop it. And I think we can see that in today's politics. Somebody is railed at incessantly, and with the vehemence that I've not seen in reading history in the last 100 or 200 years. But anyway, maybe Reagan was maligned as almost as much. But anyway, so that brings us to the next dictum, and that principle is number 4, and that was when back in the 1820s, when well, actually, back in 1776, and then later in 1793 or thereabouts, the French Revolution took place, and all of a sudden the have-nots were rebelling, and they created something. Well, the rebellion started before that. You could go back to the British principles established in 1688, and I guess it all started at the creation of the Magna Carta. But they really got going with the two revolutions, and suddenly something very terrible happened to the haves. They had to vote for it. Now they have to vote. They have to convince you to vote for them, and this is causing a big stir.
What a headache.
Yeah, a big mistake. And so there, after the French Revolution, they're sitting around going, man, we don't want our heads cut off like this again. So what do? So we're going to make a contract with society and say that the haves now will provide for the have-nots. We'll give you a base living. We'll give you a base. We'll give you a job and some wine on the table and something to eat, and for that, you'll not cut our heads off anymore. And that was called noblesse oblige in the 1820s. That theory of a social compact came forth, and that was called noblesse oblige. And then after that, that was taken and developed further in 1848 by the famous Karl Marx in the Communist Manifesto. And then from that, socialism proliferated and remains with us today. That theory that we need to take care of the poor of society, and it's now a political issue and remains so, and well it should, and how to take care of the poor of society.
So
And
it's
so
all a
that argument is,
repercussion. It's all a repercussion from the violent revolution of the have-nots.
yep, which produced democracy, because before that time, the king and queen could just take over society, and their edicts, because they were God's representative on earth, their edicts were totally in place.
So is
And
this good so far in the story where we are? Are these positive developments? It sounds like they are, right? I mean, at least we're brought up to believe that they are. It's self-determination. These are good. I know there are nuanced arguments to be made about different political systems, but so far the story sounds pretty good.
okay, so society advances and democracy. Now they have to convince the haves have to convince the have-nots to vote for them, which they're doing a pretty good job. And um, so now we come across principle number 5. So during the time that they were in power, um, the kings and queens, they had to wrestle with dictum number 5, which was the famous Lord Acton principle, that power corrupts, and power tends to corrupt, and power and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the reason why so kings' minds became corrupted, and today it continues in today's societies. So the more the societies that you canvas and look at, and throughout society, the more that you see a society that is ruled by a totalitarian, similar to the kings and queens throughout history, the more you'll see a corrupted mind because of the Lord Acton principle. And there's a reason why they become corrupted. So the nature of the corruption is that the totalitarian looks at himself. I don't know if you ever read First Circle by Solzhenitsyn, but it's got a great depiction of corruption of the totalitarian mind in it. And so when a totalitarian mind becomes um, so involved with himself that he realizes that he doesn't have to cooperate with anybody, because he's so powerful that only his priorities matter. And that's the nature of freedom, by the way. Freedom is the creation of a priority in your mind, which is a piece of knowledge, the creation of a priority, and then the effectuation of that priority. And when those two priorities happen, that is freedom. That's the nature of all freedom. And so when you have a king or a queen, or a totalitarian, or close to a totalitarian, he thinks of it. He knows that only his priorities, only his freedom is the one that's valuable throughout society, and so he will make all the important decisions.
Because he is society in a way.
That's correct. And so he looks upon himself as all powerful, and thus he doesn't have to cooperate with anybody. He concludes that I don't have to cooperate because all my edicts are powerful. And so when you don't cooperate, you are no longer ethical, because ethics is the appropriate dispensation of respect. And so when you are respectful to your parents, you are being ethical toward them. And ethics is or respect is the tool, the evolutionary tool, the biological evolutionary tool that enables society to cooperate. So And we cooperate to produce goods and services, and we produce goods and services to bring us up away from misery and give us goodness. And and so when a totalitarian leader doesn't have to cooperate, he loses his sense of respect for the have-nots. And so you can see throughout history the devastation that's produced. Look at Stalin. How many tens of millions did he wipe off the face of the earth? How many did Pol Pot in his society? 50% of his society in Cambodia. Look at Mao, the totalitarian leader. Look how was it 50 million? Some people say that he killed. So the totalitarian leaders are ruthless, and they do so because their mind is corrupted, because of the Lord Acton principle, and and this allows them to forget ethics because they don't have any respect for the downtrodden, for the have-nots of society, and so.
Well, you could imagine the people listening to this going, "That's Trump," and there are interesting analysis you could apply based on what you just said. You could certainly talk about lots of things Trump is doing and make arguments that he is testing some of those principles and playing with fire. Not to say that he's a Mao or a Stalin, obviously, but that he is prickling in some ways. These in bringing to light these issues in some small ways, some interesting ways that make us think he's so provocative that some people view him as such a character.
Yeah, and he's one of those that dragged the have-nots back to to the principles of freedom, and so the vehemence uh, the energy by which he will be attacked is profound. Um,
Yeah. So maybe we
so
can make sense of all of that by the time we're done here. So didn't mean to interrupt. Please go on.
okay, all right. So what happens is that when the king and the queen or the totalitarian leader um, has no respect for those beneath him, he loses his sense of ethics. And when you have no sense of ethics, then all that remains is the end justifies the means
Mm-hmm.
philosophy. And when the end justifies the means, you can have a totalitarian leader wipe out 50 million people and go home and sleep very well at night because he knows that what he did uh, was justifiable because the end was correct in his mind because it's corrupted. And so they sleep very well. Stalin, I'm sure. I mean, according to Solzhenitsyn,
Mm-hmm.
Stalin slept pretty well. And uh, so then, that attitude produces all the horrors of the political horrors throughout history. And so the end means the end of political society for the haves is that they want to control, because the more you control, the more ends that you can effectuate that are good for your particular um, uh, priorities. And on the other side are when you have ethics, then you um, uh, you are concerned with the have-nots, and so that causes revolutions when you can all of a sudden um, pick up and correct this. Um, you have when the downtrodden become so downtrodden that they rebel, uh, and you produce uh, goodness in society so that you can cooperate and start to effectuate more uh, goodness through good production of goods and services, and you're able to do that through cooperation, which is the outcome of respect that enables us to cooperate,
Mm.
and thus this allows for ethics to become uh, uh, prevalent in society, and it's due when you have free market enterprise, when you're allowed to do
Mm.
and create your own priorities, and you have your own freedom. You become overall more ethical because have because you have to have respect for those with whom you want to cooperate. And
Mm.
it's kind of a remarkable conclusion from all this, but it is what it is.
Wow, that is so fascinating. So let me back up one step here and say, interesting how why doesn't the left, why don't we diagnose the left as having an equal desire for control for their people, for the have-nots? As you say, the right, their impulse is to have control to protect their interests. But if the left's interest is to look out for the have-nots, why wouldn't we just say in equal terms, yeah, so this side control, they want control as well, but for the have-nots, it's kind of a different description.
I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure I understood that question, but
Okay.
um, the uh, once the have once the haves um, become all powerful, the Lord Acton principle necessitates causes them uh, to forget about the downtrodden in history, and that's the way it's always been throughout history up until uh, democracy, and then that forces the have-nots to cooperate with the have-not. The course is
The haves
the
to
haves
cooperate with
to
the have-nots, right?
the correct, and so now you have to apply that. Is it?
Got it. So the control is baked into the structure of how this whole thing emerged. The control is because they were the incumbents, if you will. And
Yeah,
it's okay. Yeah. Okay. That
and
makes
so
sense.
now you have to apply these attributes to whether it becomes
Mm.
whether you think that they're left or whether you think that they're right, and so you can make an analysis, and you can and you can feel that well this party fulfills what we just talked about more than the other party, and so right now I would say that the Democrats tend to want more control of society, and uh,
Mm.
and the conservative Republicans, and I don't want to include the middle of the road Republicans here, but the conservative ones, and if you go all the way to the right, which would be libertarians, they
Mm-hmm.
want more freedom for everybody in society,
Mm.
and
So
so
fascinating. Go on. Yeah.
and so those are that is the bifurcation. So when you find a politician that promotes freedom, he is a conservative Republican. He will be somebody who wants free market enterprise and ultimately as much freedom in society as possible. And when you find somebody who is the opposite, who wants to control society, and that man is bad, their nature is bad, so we need to control them more, but that's really not the true that's almost an excuse because the true nature of control is to bring more goodness to your own self as opposed to society in general.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and all you have to do is look at the totalitarians throughout history to ascertain um, um,
Mm.
the truth of that statement.
So it's interesting. So we've got a legit, an understandable need from the have-nots early in society and political history to fight back, to stand up for themselves, to get their piece of the pie, or however we want to call it. And then we have the the fact that totalitarian, these leaders tend to have accumulated power and become corrupted, and so really, but though what we're saying is that the collectivist ideology failed. Like, what's interesting is we obviously, as you said, have to apply what we learned in this conversation, look around and make our own decisions about who represents what, and that's interesting. But it really comes down to what you think is the solution to the problems of the have-nots, or to the, do you want more redistribution of wealth? Do you want goods and services? What do you think is the answer to the problems of society? Is it free market? Is it freedom and free market, or you, you know
Yes. Well, it is the free market, and because it is the one that produces peace in society. If you look at a history, throughout history, the haves have created thousands of wars, thousands, and the have-nots have only created just a couple. And so the corruption of the mind due to total control produces wars even up till today.
mhm,
And those wars are because of dictum 1 and 2. That all life does that which is good for it, and you tend to dominate. And so you look at all the kings, once they become totally controlled of their society, what do? They want more. So they invade the neighbor's land, and create a war because they want more. They want more of something,
mm,
land or the gold.
mm,
Look at the Spanish back in the 1500s, going for the gold in the New World, and just destroying everybody to get it. Um, they became ruthless. Just the wars were never ending, and they're still today, and they're caused by the same thing. But the have-nots have created a couple of wars, and those were called revolutions. They're not really wars;
mm,
they're revolutions, and those were to attain freedom. And so that's really the ultimate goal
mm,
of what should be of society's goal, is to produce more freedom, because more freedom allows an ethical society, and an ethical society is able to cooperate more and produce goods and services more, and bring society up away from goodness. And the reason why they're able to do that when they cooperate more is because because only one thing: the production of knowledge. The production of knowledge in a free market of society is is how it's driven. And so when free market society allows for a greater amount of knowledge, the closed societies, totalitarian societies, can't keep
mhm,
up. And
mm,
if you look at all the modern societies in the last 200 years, all of the totalitarian societies must go out and they try to steal the knowledge because they can't produce it
mm,
by themselves. And the reason why they can't is because they're not allowing total freedom within society. Because freedom, and remember, the nature of freedom and the nature of knowledge is that the creation of the priority, which is a piece of knowledge. I now know that I need to make a well in the backyard, and so now I will. And so
mm,
how do I do that? And well, necessity is the mother of invention. My gosh, he
mm,
goes and he figures out how to make a well in his backyard, so he doesn't have to go down to the brook all the time. So he so and so that priority is effectuated, and that effectuation of that priority is a bunch of knowledge. And so as knowledge is created, there produces the greatest good for society.
mm.
And the production of the free market enterprise allows that because of the nature of freedom and its close relationship
Mm.
with the production of knowledge.
So it's not just about economic freedom, is a
It's
way to say
yeah,
that.
well, uh,
It's about
all,
economic freedom generates freedom, larger freedom, larger dimensions of freedom.
that's
It's
right.
kind of a way to say
The
that.
the political freedom is really the core of it. allowing
Yeah.
individuals to be free, and then individuals may produce what they want to, and they do it by creation of knowledge. Because
This has been an interesting reframe. So so basically, you've reframed who the left and the right are, um,
yeah,
or at least who the left is. So it's about who's who and what the solutions are for the problems in society and what philosophy has to say about it. Wow. It's amazing. So did we get to the end? We did. We got through the seven principles, and now we've gone into the analysis of current events. And Trump is okay. So Trump is a figure who somehow you're saying Trump is a guy who represents the have-nots, and people can't
I do.
wrap their heads
Well,
around that.
yeah. So what happens is that because of the creation of knowledge through the free market enterprise, what happens is that some of these people creating all their knowledge and effectuating products and services, they jump out of being have-nots. They join the haves.
Yep.
But there's an intermediary area, we'll call it the bourgeoisie, where the have-nots have jumped out because they've produced something that through the creation of their knowledge they've jumped out and become wealthy and now are in the bourgeoisie class. So some of those bourgeoisie then are conscripted by the haves of society to join them. And you'll see that, like, for example, the Democrats are always trying to get the heads of corporations to join them in their ideas of how to do goodness for society. And so they
Sure.
join
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
and so the corporations do join them because, and they want them to join because the presidents of corporations control so many people and pay so many paychecks, and that
Mm.
so their inclusion into the aristocracy of the left is paramount to their objective, and and so that's how the controllers of society will work. They'll just incorporate. But those who jump out and join the bourgeoisie, now there's another set who don't ever join and who don't believe it and love their freedom. And so they love their freedom and they participate in their day-to-day activities and and enjoy the freedom and prosperity because they're producing knowledge and through that producing goods and services which bring them up away from misery
Mm.
and into and obtaining goodness in society.
Well, shoot. I mean, it's like, do I even have any questions about what the right political identity is? This is the core of my what I'm doing here is trying to find what I truly believe, and do I really believe what I think I believe and what I've come to see. So yeah, you've reinforced it.
So
Um,
it's kind of interesting when somebody from the have-nots jumps out and joins the bourgeoisie class. What happens in the media? Well, they defame that that bourgeoisie
is
class
that
because
Trump though? He came from the have-nots,
yeah, his family was poor at one time.
right? Okay, okay, okay.
Um,
So you're talking generationally, the Trump family, they were nobodies. You're saying at one point.
yeah, and they
Got it.
became part of the bourgeoisie, and
Mm-hmm.
once
Mm,
and he was a Democrat at one point.
sure.
Um, so and once the you
Hmm.
and so the left the totalitarian will look at those who jump out of into the bourgeoisie class and blame them for having jumped out. You're
Mm.
uh, you're deplorable.
Well, like they'll say, everyone welcomed him with open arms on the View until he ran as a Republican.
Right. And suddenly those who jump out and don't go back to the have-nots are deemed deplorable and called as such in explicit terms by other politicians.
Why?
Well, I can remember one person saying deplorable, and she called all those Trump voters deplorable. She called them
Mm-hmm.
deplorable because they had
Mm.
jumped out of society away from the have nots and therefore transgressed that original contract that back in the 1820s, the socialist contract, where we will take care of you, you have nots. You just trust in us, we'll take care of
Mm.
you. But if you jump out and
Mm.
and don't go
Mm-hmm.
back and don't vote for us, you are deplorable because you've left your others behind that remain under your contract that we will take care of you. And so they need the left needs that level of society that is to be taken care of. And as they jump out
I got
and
you. I'm
because of
starting to
knowledge,
feel,
because of the
yeah.
creation of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
they leave their brethren behind and are to be blamed for it.
Okay, I think I get it now. The revolutions were good,
Yep.
um, but the result of them, the noblesse oblige, as you put it, I think, and then the snowballing into socialism, that was all misguided and created this unnatural system, parasitic political class, actually, in place of the original dominant rulers. I told you I got it. And the left is off kilter. And so the contemporary right is really the original left who's trying to fix the problems and trying to undo the even going towards the noblesse oblige. Let's or backing up towards it, maybe undoing all of the machinations of what got built on top of that. Yeah, and so free market is the answer to to it all, to divine right, to the divine rulers originally, the kingly rulers. It's the answer to it's the answer to the puzzle.
Freedom. That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. So we have so the constitutional republic. America's a great design.
The best design in the history of the world. And and we get
Wow.
we get comparisons. The U.S. is compared with the rest of the world, and everybody wants to come here. Everybody tries to cross the border.
Hmm.
Everybody wants to come here, but everybody is also criticized. And there's a reason why America is prolific, why they create more knowledge, why they produce more goods and services, why
Hmm.
Europe is way behind them,
Right.
why United States outshines everybody. There's a reason for it because freedom is
Mm.
protected in the Ten Amendments, in the original Ten Amendments, and the other amendments too. Uh,
Mm.
uh, and those freedoms allow for the greater production of knowledge and the protection that your knowledge is you own your knowledge and cannot be taken away by the government unless there's due
Mm.
compensation. And and because of
Fifth
that,
Amendment.
Fifth Amendment, and because of that, those amendments, we are the greatest. No other country has it. I mean, Britain has
Mm.
uh, a little bit of one, but from 1688. But it only really, it's not really concrete, and it's not really
Hmm.
etched in stone like ours is.
Man, I always loved America. And when I went to law school in 2018, started going at night, I started to understand why I loved it. Of course, I knew about the Bill of Rights, right? But, studying constitutional law and property law and all of it was amazing into our society. And then being my father's son, interested in uh, social justice, I guess, mildly. I guess. Um, I took these two electives in critical race theory, and that just turned my world upside down. And this was at the time when Cruz and Justice Jackson were having it out at the Senate floor. This is at the time when DeSantis was going around talking. It was the national conversation was just beginning to peak around CRT, and I go, "Holy crap! I'm seeing." what's driving all of this, and I got to see the philosophical underpinnings of it, learn all about it. So it was the first class was jurisprudence. So it wasn't a CRT jurisprudence. So I mean, it wasn't just what CRT was. It was here's what CRT is, which is the whole controversial thing into of itself, and then was here's how justices will use it to execute its vision. And to I go here's how we'll do it. I go holy shit, this is crazy. There were great classes, but they were super controversial, and the attitudes from the classmates was so anti-American. It was frankly anti-white. It was so victimhood. It was everything you could possibly think it might be. It was like, really? I guess I'm Ted Cruz. That's what started this whole thing. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, but this has actually been super enlightening.
Thank you.
I think you really filled in the pieces. Um, I can now articulate. Uh, that was amazing. Yeah. So did we miss anything?
Well, it's all pretty much enshrined in my book called The Nature of the Political Left and Right, available pretty much anywhere books are sold, and also available as an audio book too.
Amazing. Yeah, we nailed it, and I got to go pick that up myself. I mean, it sounds like a classic. Wow. I mean, the answer. I mean, you damn right. I'm going to pick it up. It just solved my riddle, that I've been pursuing for 5 years. So this is amazing. Thank you so much, Chris. It's been an absolute. Hey, randomly, do you mind if I ask you a funny question?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's your thoughts on the alien thing? Aliens. I'm talking extraterrestrials. From a philosopher. I can't speak. Philosophical perspective, from your learned perspective, what gives? Is there something there?
Uh, we got to go back to Einstein, and didn't you say something about if you don't understand it, you can't really explain it, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
before previously?
Mm-hmm.
We got to go back there, and we really can't explain it, and we really can't understand. So right now, the jury's out. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have any. Well, some people say they come through wormholes, and but that's not really something that's been concrete explained to me. So I'm a
Right.
rather skeptical on the presence of aliens throughout our history. I gotta give it a pass.
Love it. Oh
I mean, it's a
gosh.
pretty interesting subject, but
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Makes you wonder why this whole. It's just if nothing else, it's fascinating how I'm actually taking some lectures on psychology right now. So
oh,
I'm picking up some of a little bit of what you were telling me today resonated based on my brief exposure so far. But why this UFO world emerged, this mythology, it's pretty damn interesting, even if it's nothing
yeah,
but
oh yeah, it's fun.
nonsense. Yeah.
It's fun to look at it
Right.
and try to explain the paranoia,
Yeah.
uh, the
Right.
the things that can happen, uh, and
I'll tell you though, I did see something extraordinary, and it was probably, and it was probably a piece of human technology. But I did see something. I'll tell you, I saw something like I saw one of those glowing bright orange orbs.
okay,
It. I know this sounds crazy, Chris.
yeah.
Walking my dog at 5:15 at it was Tuesday, March 4th last year, almost a year ago now. Still dark out. Walking my dog, it was 5:15. I'm sure I had my phone in my hand. Didn't think to record it. And still dark out. And over the head of my apartment building, 5-story apartment building, is like basically it was a big orange plasma ball. And I go, and your brain goes, that doesn't belong there. This can't be. This can't be. It's like this doesn't compute. Is the first thing. And so it was in the horizon for about 30 seconds total as it traveled west towards the ocean. I'm here in San Diego, and it wasn't just a static orange ball the whole time. First thing I saw was the orange ball, and then, as if it was an energy shield, the orange went down, and then I just saw three circular white lights in the shape of an equilateral triangle against presumably a black craft, which I could not distinguish from the black sky. So it went from orange ball to three circular white downlights to orange ball and back about 15 times. Silent, pretty quick, about a helicopter's distance off the ground. Fairly big, not huge, but medium-sized thing. And it was something different, man. So, um, yeah, it's technology. I'm interested in how technology impacts politics, because theoretically it shouldn't, right? The Constitution, if you're an originalist, if you're a Republican these days, and from our conversation, that means you're a true leftist, okay? Um, then technology should change, come and go, but the principles should remain the same. But is there a point where technology is so radical and so different that the rules are just different about society? So are we reaching that point? It's kind of an interest of mine. Any
Well, they
thoughts on
cause
that?
shifts in society. The production of knowledge has caused shift in society. Look at the South 100 years ago is an agrarian society, and suddenly
Mm,
they switched. They went from agrarian to high tech, and because of low taxes, corporations started to move there and required a greater
mm,
uh, a, a greater amount of knowledge to be obtained by the individual that they hire, and so society converted from an agrarian to an industrial, technologically oriented society, and the more the knowledge that they acquired, that the individual Southerners acquired, the more they became conservative,
mm.
because conservative because the more knowledge you have, the more valuable you are to companies and societies,
The more respect, the more cooperation.
and the more exactly, and then the more prosperous they become, and the more knowledge you have, the more you uh, want the freedom that enables you to become prosperous. And so the more you tend to vote for those policies that will contribute to your freedom in the future.
So once you get these people who are stuck on to use a maybe a crude term, the plantation, as some say the
Yeah.
Democratic plantation, once they get a taste of these cities, give them a taste of a Republican leadership, and they'll never go back. Maybe is the concept there, or in theory.
Yeah. Well, once they get uh, once they start to acquire knowledge through education and opportunity,
Mm.
the more they'll prosper, and the more then they'll never go back.
It's so relevant to, I came onto the scene. I started my podcast. I was walking away from the left. You have that guy, Brandon Strzok, who does the walk away movement. So many people in the age of Trump, who's obviously this fascinating character. We don't even need to go into it. He's obviously fascinating for many reasons. But in the age of Trump, it's all about people leaving the left. And I studied CRT, and I go, I gotta walk away myself. And it was at the time where Christopher Rufo was coming out with his articles, and it was really
Oh,
peaking, as I said. And I came to it myself, the conclusion myself. So it's interesting to hear you put a bow on it like that, and to really to put a bow on it. And back to just the technology thing. There is obviously technology hidden from the public. I mean, and so the question is how far does it go advanced compared to current day abilities, right? Whether it was the creation, there's always the military, creating things that we don't have yet. So is it 5 years? Is it 500 years? Is it 50 years? And the control, and back to the UFO thing, the paranoia. Well, if you strip away the aliens, then it's obviously really just about what the F, man. There are people controlling resources. They're preventing our society from transforming from that slave owning economy to the business friendly economy. So it's relevant. It's really relevant. And so the Joe Rogan angle, all of that stuff, it's fun, and it's interesting. But even if all the alien stuff is not hooey, still very important. So this has been a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Hope to do it again soon.
Okay, cool.
Have a good one.
All right, thank you.
Bye.